they don't tell you is that if they get rid of the property taxes, the number one group that's going to be impacted is going to be police and firefighters.
What broke you once made you strong.
Hello, my Beyond Boundaries F.L followers. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending the hour that you're going to be watching us. And if you see, we have a guest star. Today we're joined by Samuel Vilchez Santiago, Democratic candidate for the Florida House District 43. Samuel is a nonprofit leader, community advocate, and chair of the Orange County Democratic Party. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
I
you.
Appreciate it.
And we're going to be asking Mr. Samuel some questions so we could get him to know better. And this way, we could vote. We could vote for him. So for those who may be meeting you for the first time, which is like us, tell us a little bit about yourself and who is Samuel Vilchez Santiago?
Are we pronouncing it right?
Yeah, Samuel Vilchez Santiago is someone who's committed to this community. I came to the United States when I was 13 years old and I moved here to East Orlando. I remember coming and not knowing how to speak any English, and honestly that was a big culture shock for me. When I was going to school, I went to now Roberto Clemente Middle School, went to Colonial High School, and I found a community that was welcoming. Our teachers who were always willing to, provide an extra hand, the folks at church who were always able to help my family get through, and because of that support from our community, I was able to get a great education, went to Princeton University, then Oxford, came back. And ever since I came back, my goal has been to give back to this community that has given me so much and that welcomed me and my family in a moment of uncertainty. And quite honestly, I think that shapes the reason why I'm running is because I believe that our community deserves the very best. And our people deserve to have good representation and leaders who understand our needs and also the opportunities we have to continue growing and being successful. And I hope to be to bring that voice of our community up to Tallahassee to continue fighting for the things that matter to us, from housing affordability to healthcare access to ensuring that our public schools are funded, and of course to protecting our democracy. Those are going to be huge priorities that I think are grounded in my experience growing up in this community and living here for the last 15 years.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we're going kind of close because you're 15 years, I'm 14. You're 14 too, right? 14 years
Here?
living here?
No, it's like 15, 16 actually.
Mhm.
Because I was here almost 2 years.
And you're naturally from Venezuela, ¿verdad? So you speak Spanish.
Yeah.
So you're out there attacking our Spanish community people. Good. So you hear that, right? Okay. Pedro, you have any questions?
Of course. Well, you came to this country on a political asylum. Let's talk about that a little bit. Looking back, how did that experience shape the person that you are today?
I grew up in a very political family. Both of my parents were very involved against the Venezuelan regime. And obviously the war got them in trouble. Eventually we had to leave and we came here, and we were lucky enough that in only 3 months our asylum case was approved.
Oh, okay.
And I think that gave us a huge opportunity to be able to seek that American dream and to fight, to live a dignified life, which is I think what most people want.
Is why anybody wants that.
Exactly. They want to be able to have, a roof over their head. They have healthcare when they need it, to be able to go to good schools, to be able to have a good paying job. And then one job is enough in order for them to make ends meet. And even have a vacation at the end of the year. And honestly, it was really tough for our family at first. My mom, who was a dentist back in Venezuela, worked at a McDonald's here in East Orlando. My dad, who was an engineer and a business owner, worked cleaning cars at the airport. And to me, what that signaled in that moment was that they were sacrificing their career. They were sacrificing so much for me and my sister to be able to have a better future. And that made me focus on school. I focused on my academics, I focused on doing community service, and at Colonial High School, I was able to graduate as valedictorian, first in my class of 700 people. But it was all because I had seen the sacrifices that they had made in order to have an impact in our ability to have a successful life. And I wanted to honor that, and that's exactly what I focused on.
Okay.
And to this day, my parents are kind of the rock of why I do what I do. And they're outdoor knocking all the time, making sure the voters understand that we're on the ballot this upcoming August 18th.
So it's an obvious question that some people might say, okay, well, you went through this, you only understand what Venezuelans are going through. I know that not everybody thinks that way, but there's a lot of people that do, just because it happens also with Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and so on. We're from New York originally, and yeah, we can support somebody else that has good values like yourself and stuff like that, wants to look at area in general. But how do you manage that in convincing also other cultures, not only Hispanics, but also other cultures?
Absolutely. I grew up here in East Orlando. East Orlando is extremely diverse. We have people from everywhere. We eat each other's cuisines. We celebrate each other's culture. We watch each other's sports game, whether it's baseball or football, you name it. And what I have learned over the last 15 years living in these diverse communities, that diversity is exactly what makes America great. And despite what some of our politicians, including the incumbent in the White House, might say, that the bottom line is that's the reality. We are stronger when we are together, when we work together.
Absolutely.
And honestly, that's my same message to this community. We have to be able to represent the greatness of when we come together. And I believe, over the last few years, I've worked closely with the Puerto Rican community, the immigrant community, the Colombian community, but also our, white communities, African American communities, AAPI communities, because I strongly believe that when one of us is successful and is able to achieve something, all of our other communities also benefit from that.
That strength in numbers. Definitely.
That's right.
Okay. Rose?
Yes, what made you decide that now was the right moment to run for the Florida House of Representatives?
So, over the last 30 years, we've seen one-party rule here in the state of Florida that, in my opinion, has led to a number of crises. We have housing affordability crisis with, seniors and teachers and first responders not being able to actually afford their homes, either because of high taxes or because of property insurance taxes, or because the rent keeps going higher than our wages. We have a healthcare crisis with millions of Floridians underinsured or uninsured, and that's only going to get worse after the Obamacare subsidies go away. We have a public education crisis here in Orange County. They just voted to close 7 schools, including 3 schools here in our district. We have a morality crisis, in my opinion, where we see politicians constantly seeking to divide our communities and attack us. And then obviously we have a crisis when it comes to creating fear against immigrant communities. And I honestly believe that part of the reason that that's happening is because the people who have been representing us, especially at the state level, they're mostly focused on themselves and not on what's important for our community. They focus on party, they focus on self-interest, and they don't necessarily focus on the community. I think we're in a critical moment for our state and for our country, in which we have to determine what our future is going to look like. And quite honestly, for me, as someone young who's thinking about building a family here, I had to come to a moment of realization of determining whether I actually want to build a family in Florida. And if I do, have to be willing to fight to make sure that Florida can actually become more affordable, that we can actually create unity rather than division and bring people together. And so that's the Florida I believe in. So I decided to step up and run for the Florida House.
Okay.
Was there something, a particular moment or experience when you thought that this was something that you had to do?
At the beginning of the second Trump administration, I think in 2025, when the Florida legislature passed what is called the Trump Act, which basically deputizes all of our law enforcement officials at the local level to persecute immigrants as if they were ICE enforcement agents. I think that was a really important moment when I was going to businesses in this community, and people were saying we have seen a downfall of about 75% in the business owners coming out. I had friends calling me saying, can you deliver food for me because I don't feel comfortable leaving my home? I knew people who were telling me, in my classroom, we're missing 5 students who didn't show up after the Trump Act passed, and I honestly believe, as I was mentioning earlier, that's part of our crisis of morality.
Yeah.
Because we are a nation of immigrants. We're a nation that throughout history has demonstrated that while imperfect, we can move forward if we work together. And I believe what's happening in the state of Florida has been a complete persecution that goes against our values.
Very much. Right now we have in our group, in our choir, mainly most of the members are immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
And when they hear that ICE is in the road, they don't come.
Yeah.
I mean, they love God, but they
Yeah.
love also, them, to protect their families.
And it's sad that you have to actually think about that. Am I going to go visit God, which is supposed to be everybody's top pinnacle choice? Or am I going to sacrifice myself and get arrested and sent back to my country? I don't know what's going to go on and be persecuted or anything else. Who knows what's waiting for
They
that
get
person
disappeared.
Yeah.
They don't know where they are. They end up in El Salvador.
Yeah.
No one knows what happened to them.
Yeah.
That reminds me more of Venezuela than it does about the United States, right? So we really have to question why anyone is doing this, because I think it's bad for the economy. We've seen the rippling effect of, a lot of our industries depend on immigrant labor, from construction to agriculture to hospitality, healthcare. So what's happening here is that you persecute more immigrants, the prices of food goes up, the prices of housing go up, the prices of healthcare goes up because they don't have the labor necessary. It's bad for faith.
Mm-hmm.
I had a conversation actually this past week with a number of pastors and faith leaders in our community, and they're all saying all of our folks are very afraid.
Yeah.
They're afraid of coming to church. They're afraid of going to work. They're afraid of everything. And also overall, I think it's bad for safety because now, what happens is crime goes underreported because people don't want to call the local police to deal with local issues, because what if then the police comes and takes my grandma away?
Yeah, I know.
And it makes us less safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's scary, like you said, but I mean, that's what we're dealing with right now. So let me ask you something. Let's switch gears here for a second. When people stop in the grocery store, community events, anywhere that you could be in your neighborhood, what's the number one concern they bring up to you?
Number one issue is affordability. Everything is so damn expensive, and people are suffering, whether that is housing affordability, and we hear it both from renters who have seen their rent goes up, but also from homeowners who are seeing their insurance go up, who are seeing that even though when they have issues and they try to deal with the insurance company doesn't respond to their claims. We are also talking about healthcare affordability and how expensive it is to actually seek care, to pay for medicine, and even groceries that have gone up. And people say, before I used to come to Walmart and I was able to buy food for my family of 4 for $150, $200 a week, maybe a week and a half, and now it's basically half of that. And the reality is that when you turn on the news and you hear the politicians they're not talking about these issues. They're talking about whatever's on their mind. They're not talking about the needs of our constituents and the need of our communities.
Yeah, we actually did an episode on shrinkflation. How you say, okay, the price is going up, but then people notice that the packages are getting smaller as well. So you're almost paying, instead of 25%, you're paying 1/3 higher than anything else. And that's happening with everything, even the meat they're packaging and stuff like that. So.
And once the price goes up, it never comes back down.
No.
Right? It takes a lot longer to come back down than it does to go up. You see it all the time with gas prices. They go up 50 cents from one night to the next, and then it takes you 2 months to get it back.
It's like not even one night. It's like you say, oh, when I come back up, I'll put gas, and when you come up, it's already high. I'm going like, what the heck?
There's a guy on YouTube real quick that showed before the war came, gas prices, let's say for example, he's using a number, it was $2.50, right? It came down, and it will come down to that $2.50. So it'll be like $2.70 or something like that. Never ever would you see it down again. But
Nothing now.
Rose?
What comes up must come down. That's a lie. It's gonna stay up. Anyway, housing costs have become a real struggle, like you say. Not only housing costs, but also for renters' costs. I'm a renter, and many families struggle. The only way I could pay my rent is to having more people living in the house to be able to divide that rent and be affordable for my pocket. So what would you like to see happen to make housing more affordable?
So a few things. The first one is we have to deal with the property insurance crisis. That is has been the number one factor as to why housing continues to go up in the state of Florida. And it's not only housing insurance, but it's also, even when it comes to commercial properties, when we're talking about apartments and people who rent, those insurance costs have also gone up. Obviously, the reason is because we are prone to natural disasters here in Florida. Over the last few years, we've seen a couple of hurricanes that have come, obviously that carry some risk. What's not happening though is the state is not coming in to take care of that risk, which makes it tougher and tougher for these industries to want to be invested in Florida. So that's part one. Part two, we have to incentivize, to the extent possible, home ownership, because home ownership is the way that our communities build intergenerational wealth. The home is the thing that you leave for your kids, so then they can potentially live there, or you can sell and then be able to invest in something else, create a business, you name it. And the reality is, I just saw a study that the average age of a homeowner now in the United States is 40 years old. First-time home buyers, the average age is 40 years old, which is basically saying unless you have one or two jobs, 2 or 3 jobs, you're not going to be able to afford a home. I think the state has to come in to actually provide incentives for people who are first-time home buyers, work with our local municipalities, the cities, the counties, to make sure that they have similar programs so that they can provide help with down payment insurance, down payment assistance, you name it. That's very critical. The third piece, and this is a conversation that's been happening, is around property taxes. Particularly, I am not in support of the amendment that says that we're going to eliminate all property taxes. The reason is because that amendment alone only fixes a little bit of the problem. It actually doesn't lead to the type of relief that people think. In your case, you were saying you're a renter. You will not benefit at all from the property taxes going away. And what we're going to see is that if property taxes go away, we're going to likely end up paying higher fees when it comes to trash collection, police, fire, you name it. Now, I do believe that we need to provide some relief. That is, increase the homestead exemption potentially, provide some relief to renters as well, but I don't support a full-on elimination. And then finally, the last point is that we need to be able to build the housing we need in this moment. I think we're really focused on the, 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, single-family home that has been at the center of our housing products in the last few years. The reality is, for folks my age, my generation, that might not be, the entry point for them. They might not want the single-family home, and what we need to do is we need to incentivize the municipalities, the counties, to be able to build the housing they need for the population they have. Whether that is, condos, townhomes, apartments, you name it, it gotta be focused on those local communities.
Yeah, there's a lot of family homes being built around here, and it's like you say, oh look, but then the pricing is like, okay, forget it, don't even go there.
Yeah, like a single family home right now, easily in this area starts likely at $500,000.
Yeah,
you probably have to be making
and the thing is that you see,
a year
they get filled up real quick.
Yeah, but you know who's buying them? The majority is not here from Florida, it's from up north.
Yeah, because they get filled up and you go, wow.
Up there, up north, the same house, basically it's a lot more expensive over there. They get the return back, and with that, they pay the house in cash.
And you have equity firms that are also buying the homes, so they turn them into vacation home. So that we got to also put a stop to.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not buying the home to live in it, then I think you're going to have to increase their taxes or something, because what it's doing is lowering the supply for the people who actually live here. And then it's moving people now. People have to move basically from now Orange County. They moved to Davenport, Polk County, St. Cloud, Claremont, in order to actually be able to afford it.
Yeah.
Kissimmee is like overcrowded. It's like
So now it's expanding.
Well,
Yeah.
no, Kissimmee. It's funny you mentioned Kissimmee. When I moved here a couple of years ago, Kissimmee was Little Puerto Rico. Little Puerto Rico's moving a little bit more to Davenport right now.
And Claremont.
In Claremont, yeah.
Yeah.
So
is there a proposal that you think realistically become law and make a real difference for families?
I think on the housing front, making sure that we're funding affordable housing has been a big priority for the legislature over the last few years. I don't necessarily agree on everything they've done in order to get there, but I do think there's an opportunity to work together across bipartisan lines to at least bring money back home for, down payment assistance, bring money back home for affordable housing, building new sort of housing, and also making sure that we have clear regulation standards when it comes to building homes so that we can make the building of homes possible in the areas that they need to be possible. I don't believe we should be building in necessarily rural areas or environmentally protected areas, but there's areas of town like downtown that probably could get a little bit more build up in order for us to have more walkable communities.
actually, I heard also in CNN that the reason housing has been also going higher is because the lumber comes from Canada, most of it, and we have a tariff on them, taxing on the same lumber that we need to build these houses. So, but that's what it is. Now, Samuel, let me ask you about education. My wife is a school counselor. She retires like in about 4 years. Education is another issue that we've talked about, that you've talked about as well. What changes will parents actually notice if your ideas became law? And if elected, what's one realistic step you will take?
So when it comes to education, what's happening in Florida is they're taking the money, our taxpayer dollars, from our public schools, and they're sending it to charter schools, private schools, religious schools, voucher schools. The issue is, and I'm all for, parental choice, the issue is that these schools do not have to abide by the same academic standards than the public schools. So what ends up happening is a parent says, I don't like the public school my kid is assigned to. They take the kid out of that public school. The state gives them $8,000 every year. They put them in another school, and then 3-4 years down the line, they notice they actually haven't been able to achieve what they wanted to achieve academically. So then they have to bring back the kid to the public school that had been defunded because the student left. And then the public school now doesn't have the resources in order to make sure that this kid catches up. And so my number one priority is actually going to be making sure that every school that receives a single penny of taxpayer dollars has to abide by the same standards to make sure that there's quality education across the board for every student. In a perfect world, if you want to provide money for other types of schools, it shouldn't be coming from the public school. Find another pocket of money to actually provide money for charter schools, private schools, you name it, but it shouldn't be coming from public schools. Since honestly, the Republican majority in Tallahassee is not interested in that conversation, I do think that we need to be able to focus on providing and establishing clear standards for these schools that are getting taxpayer dollars so that every student, no matter where they go, can actually have access to a quality education.
Yeah, I'm not an educator, or nor do I work in a district like in New York. They have the Department of Education, nothing like that. But I just think it doesn't make sense giving money to another education entity when you can invest that money into your own source right there. Salary is one of them. You up salary, you have teachers that won't be leaving your county to go to other counties to make more money.
Or to another state, because Florida teachers are so underpaid. That I have so many friends who started teaching, and then 3 years in, they're like, I can't afford it. And the price of everything goes up a lot faster than their wages. So year after year, they're in a worse position financially, and they just simply leave the profession altogether.
And who benefits is a lot of schools like either from up north, California, Texas, Chicago, because they're like, come on over. You know, they're already prepared. They got the experience. Come on over. And the Saturday they get there, they're not gonna say no. You know what? They're not used to the cold. It's okay. They'll buy cold and get used to it because it's a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, bro.
So now we go to public safety. Me and Pedro sometimes driving around there, we don't see one single cop. Not patrolling or nothing at night. You don't see them at all. So some residents is that they don't see enough. We hear a lot of people like us saying that they don't see enough patrols in their neighborhood anymore. What role do you think state leaders should play in helping communities feel safer?
Absolutely, I think the state plays a big role here, and that's why going back to the conversation we were having about property taxes, they want to get rid of the property taxes. What they don't tell you is that if they get rid of the property taxes, the number one group that's going to be impacted is going to be police and firefighters. That's why our first responders have actually come out against the amendment to get rid of property taxes, because it will likely mean a cut to the funding that gets allocated for police and fire.
That doesn't make sense.
Particularly, it doesn't make sense because it's a defund the police type of proposal. But that's not what they're saying when you hear them talk about it. And there's actually a carve out in the legislation for public schools, and they try to pass a carve out for police and fire, and the legislature would not approve it, right? So the number one thing we have to do in order to make sure that our communities continue to stay safe and that we get the funding necessary for our police departments is making sure that we're not getting rid of property taxes in the way that it's been presented. So that way we can continue that investment into our local communities. That's one. Two, we need to invest in, high tech and making sure that our police has all of the resources they have necessary in order to continue the push to lower crime in our communities. We also need to be investing in wrapped around resources so that people who go into the criminal system can actually come out of it and be able to reintegrate in society and not just continue to be in the cycle of incarceration and going back to jail over and over again, because we end up paying more for that person to be there. And then honestly, it has to be a complete type of understanding of what safety is. And it really starts by educating people at home, the families, the neighbors, and letting them know, one, what their rights are, and two, how they can actually make our community safer. And then going into the schools and educating the kids also as to why, the laws are what they are and why we need to make sure that we're abiding by it as good neighbors and as good people in our community. So funding, education, and investment is what we're going to need in order to continue making our community safer. And as I was saying before, the anti-immigrant laws only make us less safe. So we should also focus on fixing that.
Okay. So how do you balance supporting law enforcement while also making sure departments remain accountable to the communities they serve?
One of the things that I've seen work really, really well here, especially in the city of Orlando, is that they have a police accountability board where regular people get appointed and they're actually able to oversee questionable cases that happen when it comes to police enforcement. And I actually believe that we need to invest more in that, in making sure that the public has a stake and a voice in making sure that law enforcement officials are accountable to the law as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because real quick, it's like we're New Yorkers originally. You see when they're not on a call, you see the cars patrolling here. You see them go on a call and then poof, kind of like disappear. I'm not saying that, they're not going to another call, whatever, but basically with the way, my concern is the way the population is growing so much here in Florida, because regardless of how the rent is and the property with the houses and everything, like Rose says, people are just living more in an apartment than just living separately. You still got a high population that's growing. So imagine you don't have enough police. And that's a riot or whatever. Like there was riots when, things were going on a couple of years back. You know? Not only would the police be able to get hurt or even killed because of such a large population that would be there, but then it becomes martial law because they have to bring the military. We can avoid all that.
Well, that's why the funding and investment is key, and taking that money
Right.
away is going to make a huge chaos for everybody.
Right. All right, so let's get into leadership a little bit. Right. Florida is a political diverse state, as you said before, and you know very well. If elected, how would you work with people who don't always agree with you? That's the key.
I am known for someone who is able to build bridges and bring people together, and that is going to be my same mentality when it comes to my service in the legislature. There will be issues where obviously I will stand strong on my values and I will not be able to agree with the Republican majority, and that's completely understandable. But my perspective is going to be trying to find common ground. I understand that this is a tough task going into a legislature where I'll be in the minority. But for instance, the current Representative Lopez, has been able to pass 8 pieces of legislation by working in a bipartisan way without compromising her values. And that's going to be my same mentality. Disagree where you must, but try to find commonality where you can. And try to find a common ground that can bring us together to find solutions for people, which is the number one priority we need to be focusing on right now. How do we solve and deal with the needs that people are having on a daily basis?
Okay. Cool.
So, politics can be stressful. It's stressful for me because I don't
For everybody involved.
But thank you, because now I'm getting, the way you're explaining things, I'm getting to understand it a little bit. What do you do to stay grounded when you're away from campaigning?
There's a few things that help me. One, I love to go on long walks and just listen to music, listen to podcasts, and completely disconnect. I try to do it on a daily basis if I can, whether walking around in my neighborhood or walking around in a park. That's really key. For longer periods of time, I love traveling. I'm an avid traveler. I think I've been to about 25 states, 15 countries, right? So whenever I can find 3 days a week, I try to go somewhere new and explore new cultures, explore new places, explore history, you name it. And then the third one is I love sports. So I watch whatever sports I can get into whenever I have free time. Most recently, I was watching the World Cup, and I thought it was great.
Okay. Who did you go for?
I was rooting for Argentina and Spain.
Everybody was.
Argentina and Spain, and they made it up to the final, and I'm very happy for Spain.
Yeah.
I'm a big FC Barcelona fan, so most of the players were Spain. But Barcelona, I'm a big Messi fan, so I was hoping he could
Who he plays for?
win it again.
Barcelona? Okay, I don't know nothing about
Right now, he plays for Inter Miami,
Okay.
but most of his career he played for Barcelona.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So you're a normal person.
Yes, absolutely.
He's normal.
Oh, and I also love food. So finding good places of food to eat. So if you have any recommendations, send them my
You gotta
way.
come over to one of my cookouts or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Have me over.
Yeah. All right. So basically, Samuel, when this interview is over and people think about Samuel Vilchez, what's one thing you hope they remember?
I hope they remember that I am from this community. I've lived in this community for 15 years. I've gone to our schools. I'm a homeowner in this community, and I want to make sure that this community has the very best representation they can have in Tallahassee. And at every point, I'm going to put our community first, before politics, before self-interest, before special interest, and make sure that we continue moving our community forward.
Okay, so then when there's 10 years from now, what do you hope they remember about the way you served this community?
That I hope that they remember that I was someone who was always accessible. I put my phone number on my flyer so that if anybody has any questions or they want to reach me, they can just call me directly without having to go through a staff person or anyone else.
And that's your phone, not
That's my phone number, not a burner phone.
Yeah.
My phone number that I've had since I was a kid, pretty much. I've never changed phone numbers.
I never heard that.
Never changed phone numbers. That I'm accessible, that I am listening to your concerns, and that I am able to be a bridge to connect you to whoever can solve your problem. Something that we see here, it's really difficult to navigate our government because there's the local government, City of Orlando, Orange County School Board, there's the state government, there's the federal government, and something I want to be able to do within our office is be able to, one, educate the community how they work differently, how they interact, but also if you come to us with an issue, we can point you to the right direction and connect you to the person who's going to help solve that issue.
Excellent. And before we wrap up here, one question I know there's a lot of people asking themselves: are you married? Are you a parent? Are you single? Or
I am married and I don't have kids yet.
okay, so thank God, because you're gonna have a lot of
That's
things
right.
going on in your mouth. Anyway, so
Wait, is there anything you would like to ask our audience?
Our audience,
You
well,
want-
first, I hope I can earn your support on or before August 18th. There's 3 ways to vote. The first way is voting by mail. So if you sign up for vote by mail, you can turn it in right before until August 18th at any point. Send it through the mail. It's free. Second way is early voting. Early voting goes from August 3rd through the 16th. Early voting in our community will take place at our local libraries mostly the Chickasaw Library, Alafaya Library, Hoffner Library, and the Senior Renaissance Center, or Nicolonahachi, and then Election Day, August 18th, at your particular polling precinct in your community. If you still have questions, you can reach me. I'm Samuel for Florida on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, you name it. And then SamuelForFlorida.com is my website. You can find my contact information there. You can call me. And if you still have questions, I'd love to continue having a conversation with you.
Yeah. We'll put the links for you in the description, so you'll be able to contact them if you didn't get it from the podcast, but for this episode. But definitely,
I have one thing for Samuel. Samuel, would you like to say something in Spanish for your Spanish-speaking Venezuelans or other immigrants?
Para todo, en esta elección necesitamos votar por nuestro futuro. Necesitamos votar por personas que van a representar a nuestra comunidad. Yo soy alguien que creció en esta comunidad, que fue a nuestras escuelas, que compró casa aquí, que quiere construir una mejor comunidad y un mejor centro de la Florida para todos. Si usted cree en eso, que podemos trabajar juntos para llevar un cambio positivo a esta comunidad, le pido su voto en o antes del 18 de agosto.
Excelente.
I wish my Spanish was that good.
Sí, we got him also.
Yeah, so we'll end up closing up.
Yes, we do. Well, thank you, meet people. Thank you for joining us today at Beyond Boundaries FL. And thank you, Mr. Samuel Vilchez
Thank you so much for having me.
Santiago. And we hope that the next one is that the next podcast we have with you is to tell us.
You got it.
You
Well,
got
you
it.
gotta come up to Tallahassee.
Yeah, oh yeah, we'll go over there. We'll go.
I heard
We'll
there's
ride.
good pizza over there.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, people. Remember, we're in Facebook, TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Spotify. I don't know who else.
You got TikTok, YouTube, yeah.
The whole thing.
Facebook, yeah.
Yep. So now we end up. You know how? Remember that little bell that's around there? Ring, mark it so you can get our podcast.
Notification.
Yeah, notification that we're on. And Mr. Santiago, would you like to ring my bell?
Absolutely.
Go ahead, ring it. Don't be afraid. Ring it.
Thank you.
Ring that bell so you could get the notifications. Please subscribe, share, follow, and comment. Let us know what you think.
No pares de creer, sigue la vida va a brillar.
And thank you, everybody.
God bless.
Go vote.